Hi and welcome to a quick and easy snowflake cane to do in polymer clay. What we're going to do today is take two colours and manipulate them in such a way in a cane that you end up with something along these lines. Every time you do it you're going to get something different, so don't worry too much about this one. It's a great one for beginners and more experienced clayers alike. You can use any brand of polymer clay, and what we're going to do is we're going to take roughly about half a pack of the smaller packs of clay. You can use any colours you like. I'm happening to use white and blue. I'm using Fimo for this one, but say all the makes of clay work just as well. So what I've done is I've taken my 2 half packs of clay and I've put them through, I've conditioned them properly and put them through my pasta machine setting number 3, which on my machine's a fairly middle even setting. And then all I'm going to do is put those two together and layer them up. Then I'm going to use my tissue blade to cut a nice oblong. Don't worry about the size of it. There's no right or wrong size to this, just make it whatever is applicable for the amount of clay you've got. I am using a squared board here, which does make it easier just to make sure I've got nice even sides to my oblong, but that is all you need to do. And as you'll see here, you then have a sheet of clay, thickness blue on one side, white on the other. All I'm now going to do is just going to pinch one end of it and start to roll it up into a spiral. When I get to that stage, I'm just going to stop because now I need to have some extra clay just to put in to make the pattern. So I'll put that one side just for a second. Then I'll pick up all the leftover bits of white clay that I've got. I'm going to push them together into a roll. And what I'm trying to do here is to make sure I've got no air trapped inside. And once you've done that, start rolling it out to get a long snake or sausage. And I'm just rolling it like this. What I tend to use the flats of my fingers here, and I actually pull outwards as I roll. And that way you tend to not get that problem with finger imprints when you're rolling out a long snake or sausage, and you can keep it relatively even. You don't have to worry too much with this one about it being absolutely accurate, but as even as you can get it really. And then do exactly the same with the blue. So there we go, there's my 2 long snakes, and because most of you who've worked with clay before know this is going to be either end of my cane, you'll always get distortion there, so don't worry about what happens there. So because of that, I'm actually just going to use my thumbnail to cut the clay off as I go, nothing more than that. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece of clay and I'm just going to start interspersing with colours as we go around. And what I tend to do when I've only got 2 colours going is that whichever colour I've got on the topmost, that's the colour I will add as the insert, and just keep winding it back on itself. You don't need very much to add in, and it's your decision as to where you add it and how often you put the pieces in. Put that one in there. What I am doing, you'll notice I am keeping them fairly straight to make sure they're relatively even along the line. So you end up with a sort of swirl like that. It can be as even as that, it can be less than that, whatever you want to do. What I need to do now is to force that into a triangular shape, and I'll do that by pressing flat down, so this is my bottom, and I'll create a triangle on top. And you do that just by using your thumb and fingers to press down, and what you'll notice is that I'm just pressing down and turning it as I go. I tend to keep a finger on the end to make sure it doesn't push out too much, and just keep turning backwards and forwards, rotating each time, and if you press just along the bottom edge you will end up with a nice triangular shape. Now again, as most of you who work with clay will know, you don't worry about what happens on here, it's what happens when you cut through. So put it on your board or anything else you've got to measure with, cut down through the middle, and you will then find you've got a pattern revealed. Now you can put it together that way, or that way, or that way, whichever you think best. I actually think the way we had first is best, so I'm going to put it together that way. Then I'll make sure that the bottoms work as well, and then you just need to decide which bit you're going to leave as a point and which bit you're going to do flat. So I think for me I will actually keep this bit as being the point and that bit flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this bit tight with my fingers whilst pressing down on the other sides, and by doing that you'll end up with a flat on the bottom and a point at the top. And all we need to do now is repeat what we just did, and I'm pulling it along the sides to make it longer, pulling it out. I don't need a huge amount of length, probably about 3 inches, 7.5 centimetres would be good for this. And you've got that pattern going there, and what you're then going to do, take your roller, put it down the middle and then you're going to pull the sides around the outside of your roller. If you don't have a roller, then you can just use your finger to do this with. It works just as well. This is something one of the demonstrations we're doing a lot up at the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham in the UK earlier in the year, in the run up to Christmas, which is why I decided to do a little quick video of it for you, because a lot of people have gone home and say, so how did they do that? So what I've now got is a nice groove down the middle. So what I want to do is to join that groove up, but to do that you start by pressing it in the middle and then work towards the ends, and that way you're less likely to get any air trapped. And what I now need to do is to press that into a diamond shape, and I'm doing that by putting my thumbs and fingers towards each other, so you're not pulling it outwards, you're actually pressing it in. By pressing it in you get a nice diamond shape, and you can then just finesse that shape slightly by putting it flat on your tile. And then what is quite handy to do for snowflakes is, I know when you do these snowflakes it's quite good to have your 6 slices, and as most of you will know from your maths, if you've got 6 slices, each one of those individual bits needs to be 60 degrees. There's a very quick and easy way to find out how to do that. You can download something like this, which is a piece of graph paper, circular one, and this is from printfreegraphpaper.com, and I've just printed it out and laminated it so it gives me something to work on, and I've just marked out there the 60 degrees. So I'll put that to one side for a second. So we're just going to chop down through to see how we're doing with our cane, and to see, so there's the pattern that's been revealed, and I'll just check how we're doing on the 60 degrees. So actually it's not too far off, so I think we're okay to use that. So now I need to take some thin slices off my cane. I'm just going to make sure it's roughly the same width all the way down. And the tip for taking off your slices, as you can see, because we've got a diamond shape, wherever it lies flat on the tile you'll then have gap on this side. So if I press down flat here, eventually this side will flatten down. So to avoid that, whichever bit you've got flat on the bottom, so my flat bit's on the right hand side and my air gap, if you like, is on the left hand side, slice downwards in that direction with your blade when you're cutting it. So I'm going to take 6 quite thick slices, because this is going to be a Christmas tree decoration, and you'll see there I'm actually slicing down to the right, and that way you get less distortion as you cut your slices through. So here are my slices. They are very nice and big and chunky, and then you need to just decide which way you're going to put them together. So I'm going to put them together with that darker bit in the middle and just start putting them together. There goes my 3, 4. You'll often find as well that the pattern marries up one side better than the other, so just spend a bit of time making sure you've got the right side going. If, like me, you've actually done yours so you need to spread them out a bit to fit them together, that is absolutely fine. Don't worry about what's happening in the middle, just fit the patterns together first, because what we're about to do will actually join any holes you've got in the centre. So what we've got there is the pattern going together roughly, so you can see what we've got, but obviously there's quite a large hole in the centre there. So what I've tried to do is to make sure that I've spaced them as evenly as I can, so it's the same sort of gap in each one, and then you will generally always get a gap no matter how neat that is. So just take your roller, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll from the outside towards the in, from the outside to the in. And this is why I like working on a piece of paper, because you can then, or sheet, because you can then twist it each time. So that's all I'm doing, very gently rolling from the outside towards the middle. And by doing that, that hole will very gently all squeeze up. Just keep going round until that hole joins up. If it looks like one side needs to go more than the other, just keep going round until eventually your hole's joined up. So all I'm doing now is I'm just rolling down those seams to make sure they're all joined in as well. So the hole has now completely gone. And then you can peel that off and you can reshape your piece, because when you've rolled it, it'll come slightly out of shape. So you can pull it to make sure it's back into that nice hexagonal shape that you're happy with. And then it's up to you what you want to do with it. You might have noticed that both of these have got a little chaton in the middle, a little bit of glass crystal. So I'm just going to do the same with this one. So I'm going to take that beading needle I had earlier, decide which side is the better pattern. I think I'll go with that one. And I'm just going to make a little dent in the middle, just so that I've got somewhere for my chaton to sit on. This is one of these crystals which has got the point on the inside, so that's what I'm about to sit in. And obviously once it's cooked, I will pop this back out and then use a bit of super glue to make sure it's nicely embedded in. Just press that in with my finger. And there we go, there's your piece finished. So if you want it like me to be a Christmas decoration, then I was going to peel off one side and with my needle just twist through to make sure I've got a nice hole going through, enough to put a piece of wire or a jump ring through, and then cook that. I tend to cook that on a piece of white card, pop it on my tile, something like that, and then cover the whole thing in a piece of foil to make sure it's nicely tented and to protect the clay should my oven spike in the middle of its cooking. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you do, come and watch some other videos that I'll start adding on as I go along. Enjoy. Bye.